Or you can read him online, stltoday.com. He contributes to the show, KTRS contributor every Tuesday and Thursday. Good morning, Tony.
McGraw, how often did they play that song when you were in Stillwater?
They
say when you were on the mound, for instance.
When I was on the mound, I only gave up, seriously, one very cheap home run. It was a fly ball, and of course, in the spring in the Midwest, the wind blows out to all fields. It was a wind-aided aluminum bat home run. Now, mind you, I gave up some that landed 10 minutes ago, but those that I gave up was a cheapo. So give me credit where credit's due. All right, Tony, you had a chance to talk with former police chief Dan Isom, who is a very nice man and has some interesting thoughts on crime in the city.
Yeah, there was a forum Monday that was very interesting. It was at Northwest Academy of Law. It's a magnet school in the city of St. Louis, and they've suffered through the sort of tragedy that sadly a lot of kids who grow up in St. Louis deal with too often. Two different students from that school have been shot and killed over the last couple of months in horrendous, situations. One of them that got a lot of publicity, Tony Stevenson, was 15, literally had just gotten home from a basketball game, was in her car, and masked gunmen came up and shot her and killed her. And so the school wanted to have some community leaders come and talk about gun violence and what they're going to do about it. And so on Monday, they had a forum that had most of the mayoral candidates, but then it also had community leaders, including former police chief Dan Isom, who's now a professor of criminal justice at UMSL. And he had something to say that I focused my column on the event. He asked a question. He basically said, here's how we're going to deal with gun violence in St. Louis if we're going to take it seriously. We have to care about every single victim of gun violence in this city, all 188 of them each of the last 2 years. And then he threw in and he said, not just the good kids. And that really struck me because being in the media business, if we take a look at ourselves, we do tend to focus on the good kids, whether it's black, whether they're black, whether they're white. The kid that, oh my gosh, it's so tragic, 15-year-old basketball player, good student, was going to go to college. They didn't deserve to die. Well, neither did the 17-year-old kid that got shot a month earlier, and nobody can hardly remember his name because we didn't pay him as much attention because maybe he wasn't as good a student or an athlete or had a little bit of a juvenile record or whatever. And what Chief Isom was saying is, look, if we're really going to solve the homicide problem, if we're really going to focus on that, we got to start caring about all of these kids and all of these people who die and treat them all the same, and so that we don't become numb, so that it doesn't become a new normal.
In your column,
and that's a challenge.
Yeah, in your column, this column we're talking about, you tell the story of Antonio French getting up and asking, raise your hand if you knew somebody who's been shot and killed, and in this auditorium, almost every hand went up.
Yeah, well, and he didn't say shot and killed; he said shot. If you knew somebody who's been shot, because that's one of the things that happens in the city all the time. I got a text from an alderman that I know last night who was like, boy, there's a lot of gunfire tonight. This has become a new norm in a lot of city communities. There's just a lot of gunfire, and people are shot. And sometimes it's random, and sometimes it's targeted, and sometimes it's, drug dealers shooting at each other in their cars as they're going by on the road or on the highway, and other people, end up getting shot accidentally. And almost every hand up there, all of these young people know somebody who's been shot. And that's not normal.
Yeah, as bad as that is, though, your newspaper's done some great reporting, and as much as we focus on crime, as well we should, But the story in your newspaper last week said that more people are dying of a heroin overdose than of gunshots and murder.
Yeah, they really are. That's the other part of the problem. And frankly, these problems are related. A lot of the violence that takes place in St. Louis is related to the drug trade, and some of that is heroin, and some of that is prescription opioids. I mean, these are serious problems that are affecting disproportionately people who live in neighborhoods where poverty is high and poverty is rampant, in part because that's where the drug dealers go. That's where they can hang out, where there's abandoned houses, where they can sort of get away with dealing and doing nefarious things without people paying as much attention to them. And so, it just gets to the fabric of all of the different issues that the city is dealing with. They're all sort of interrelated, and it has to do with caring about everybody who lives in those neighborhoods.
Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, every Tuesday, Thursday here. Tony, have a good week. Thanks.
Good to talk to you.
825, Big 550, KTRS.